July20, and the current local time 9 o'clock in the morning. So we're off to a very good start. Want to welcome you. If for any reason you're not able to see these videos when they're fresh on my Facebook page when I go live, you can always go over to my YouTube channel, Flying by Faith. The recorded version is uploaded, so you can always keep abreast. And again, I keep saying, subscribe to the channel, give a thumbs up, leave a comment below. And if they are a blessing to you, don't just keep it to yourself. Share it with family and friends and those that you think can benefit from these videos. This week was an amazing week. It had its low moments. It had its moments of shedding tears, moments of joy and accomplishment. You had bad weather this week. We had one day I couldn't fly this week, and I'll tell you what resulted from that. So, without further ado, welcome. It's episode 7. Can you imagine? It's episode 7 this week. And 7 is a perfect number. As Adventists, we love 7. So, let's get straight into it. Basically, Sabbath, last week, Sabbath, as the sun was getting ready to set, this was the weather that was creeping in gradually. I was outside enjoying the last moments of the Sabbath, and I saw this building up real quick. And there was an airplane out flying, and I was just praying that he gets to his destination safely. So Sunday, I started with some returning patients. Basically, last week, Friday, I tried to do a second flight to get this returning patient home. This is a returning patient, pregnant lady. She is just having some complications, and again, she does not have any ultrasound machine in her area. So without an ultrasound to give a diagnosis, she doesn't have a clue what's happening with the baby. So I rushed her out before ultrasound went well, and it's time for her to go back home. So I picked her up. This is a nurse in front here. That's the nurse who accompanied her. And I remember he gave her a shot just before she boarded the airplane. So it was a blessing to transport a patient, watcher, nurse, and 2 stranded passengers heading back home. And they're from Makonakon. It's from my air base to this airport, it's a 30-minute flight, roughly, yeah, about 30 minutes flight, and I got them home safely. On the return leg, this patient here, it's actually 2 patients. One of them, young lady, there's an issue going on in her brain, and she needed to do a scan of some sort, so I have to rush her out. So it's amazing how we combine things. I drop off and I pick up. So both legs of the trip, it's always useful as much as we can, except for emergency cases. This is the ambulance that usually waits for them here at the air base or at another airport. And I've been talking with the person in charge of coordinating this. And I always tell them to try and be here as early as possible. We don't have the longest airstrip. It's not paved. So, and it's 500 feet above sea level. So in aviation, you have something called density altitude. It's where even though the airplane is on the ground, due to the warm temperature that exists, the airplane will perform as if it's above the ground. So there are times when the density altitude can be up to 3,000, 4,000, etc. It depends on the temperature. So if I'm 500 feet above the ground, there's certain weight limit attached to the airplane that I cannot take off safely at certain hour of the day. So like a midday, 12 o'clock when it's burning hot, I cannot take off with the same amount of weight as if I was taking off at 6 o'clock in the morning where it's cool. So I always ask them, bring the patient and whoever's going to travel with me, bring them early as you can. My heart goes out when I got a feedback. They told me, they said, Cap, sometimes they have to start driving from 2 a.m. in the morning to get to our air base by 6 o'clock. the earliest. The earliest they can be here on average is 7:38. Because in the past they would come late. They have returning patients and baggages. It's four of them. And when I calculate my density, altitude, my weight and balance, how much runway I'm going to use, I know I have obstacle to clear at the departure end. And there are times when I have to leave one person and their luggage behind because I know that it's too hot, to take off. It's a small airplane. It's not the most powerful thing in the world. So when I heard what it takes for them to drive, because they don't have a public commute option, they don't have their private transportation option. So they have to take this ambulance, pay a small little fee for traveling, and the drivers have to get up early, the patients have to get up early, sometimes 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 2 o'clock, they're on the road traveling to get here. And that was just a blessing to know that we're not the only one putting in sacrifice. These drivers, and this is a government funded ambulance, is putting in some work as well to help these individuals to get to their destination safely. This week, when I'm not flying, again, I keep telling you guys, I just don't sit around and wait for the flights. I find different projects to do. So, one of the things I'm learning is I want to be an aircraft mechanic. So, under the supervision of my director, that is an A&P, basic RI airframe, airframe and mechanic. Um, basically, he supervises me. So we did a video call this week, and there's a new kind of welding, very technical. It's not the easiest thing to get the hang of. So to test my skills, so to speak, I told him I will practice on a screw. So I cut the screw in half, and I was able to put it back. If you look, the screw is back together. So I just look at my life and I'm like, I'm learning so many different skills that I would have to maybe go back to school to learn these things, but I don't have the time. We're in a COVID lockdown anyway. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. So our air base is like a school that teaches you so many different things. So that's one thing I was learning this week, how to do this particular welding so that later on, if I ever have to weld something, I know what I'm doing. And speaking about welding, so I posted on Facebook that I'm asking my rich friends for $25. That's what I said. I'm asking my rich friends for $25. I'm not gonna tell you what I'm gonna use it for, but if you trust me enough and you know me and ministry-wise, it's a small little ministry need that I've seen and I want to meet, but it takes about $25 to meet that need. So surprisingly enough, one of my flight instructor, I went through many flight instructors, okay, so you won't have a clue, which I went through at least 8 different flight instructors. One of them messaged me. He was actually the only one that messaged me at that time. And he said, I love what you're doing. I was glad to be a part of your training, etc. And I'm gonna give you not 25, but he actually gave me $50, which was good because the price for the item changed when I went to inquire about it. So basically what I wanted to do was, when the drivers and these patients, when they come to the hangar, it's very hot. And I thought to myself, it would be nice to have a water dispenser that actually can give cool water or hot. If they come early, maybe they want to make a cup of tea or something. So hot and cold. And I looked it up, I found a dispenser, but then the one that would give like really hot and cold, it's like 8,000 pesos, which I gotta convert that in dollars real quick so that you guys can know how much it is. 8,000 divided by 50. Okay, what? 8,000 pesos divided by 50. $160. That's crazy, right? That's what they're selling the nice ones for. And I'm like, I only asked for $25. I got 50. I don't have $160. There's no way. So what I did, my little brain is always thinking about creativity. So I realized, why not buy the same little top? It's a little shorter, but basically I'm gonna make my own stand. It's 2 feet high. I'm gonna make my own stand and just put my water dispenser. So I went welding. I did my research. I bought the steel that it takes to make this base for the water dispenser. It's only $8. Can you imagine? $8 for a piece of steel, one length. I cut it up, I got my measurement, and that's the result right there, developers. Look at that. My water dispenser is sitting on an $8 stand. I paid maybe around $25 for the water dispenser. So when people come to the hangar now, of course, yeah, this was when it was fresh. I painted it. When they come to the hangar, they can have water to drink. And remember what the Bible says, I was thirsty and you gave me to drink. It literally. Yeah? And so that was a blessing that I was able to complete that project. After I got work done, another day came, and I had an emergency case down in a little area called Palanan. That's where one of my contact, Pastor Milky, is. And they're doing construction on the church. I told you guys that the cement was here. It's just sitting in a hangar. It's very costly to transport it because my airplane is very small. One of this thing weighs about 80 pounds. They're heavy. So the maximum I can take with the fuel required to go to that airport, have for my alternate, the most I can take is 7 bags of cement. It's the most I can take. So, this is episode 7. It's 7 bags of cement. I put it in the airplane. I had some extra fuel. And what happened was, this was Tuesday. And I remember that Monday, the weather got very bad. It had cells, red thunderstorms all over, clouds were low, visibility was poor. I could not fly at all on Monday. So Tuesday, I got a call from Pastor Milky. Actually came in Monday night, and he said, hey, there's 3 patients here. And so 2 of them, one was a 57-year-old with stroke and some other complication, I believe. And then he had a 10-year-old that did an ear surgery, and the tumor grew back within 2 days. So I had to rush in. Now, he told me about 2 patients, and then he called me up before I departed. He called me up. He said, there's a 3rd patient. An old man had a stroke, and basically, after the stroke, he's in the hospital, very critical. They're asking you to transport him along that time. So I said, okay, he'll be number 3 based on his case compared to the others and the age and so on. So I put the cement in, I got ready, I got down there. I said, Pastor Melke, let me take a photo of you. Happy pastor. Now he can continue construction on the church in his area. So, these flights are not just about saving lives, but there's a work going on. And here's a happy Adventist pastor receiving some cement due to a flight that was able to come in. There are cement available in his area, but it's almost twice the price in comparison to our area. So it's cheaper here. And whenever I have a little flight, depending on the need, I can maybe put it in there and bring it little by little, or 7 bags per trip. But it's too costly to just haul cement because we can't bring enough to justify the operating cost of the airplane. We don't have the resources for that. So I picked up the patient, and here's patient number 1. I transported her along with the other gentleman, and this is the little boy. I transported them and their family members. And then just before I departed, my phone rang. That was Pastor Milky. Patient number 3 that had the stroke basically had some challenges with health. Before that, I went back, happy moment. It's a mom returning with a cute little baby, right? So that's the mom right there with the umbrella. I picked up that stranded student, and that's Pastor Melky holding the baby, because what happened, I noticed when I was loading her, usually it's their responsibility to like go in the airplane, and getting in this thing is not the easiest. There are times I see their struggles, and I have to just say, okay, put your feet here, which, let me zoom in. You have to step on that little part, and then sometimes they step so strong that their head will bounce on the top. So I have to always remember, be at the door and assist them to go in. And the language difference too, because I have to say, step here and watch your head. Sometimes I have to like put my hand between, because when they step on the step, they step with so much energy, like that, and I have to always remember, help them to step and get in. So now I'm thinking about something. You know me, I like to design things. I'm like, what if I had like a wooden step that would like guide them in, like put it at the wheel where they can just step on it 2 or 3 steps, especially seniors. Seniors have a very hard time. And then when they're trying to get in there, they just hold on to anything. There are areas you cannot hold on to. And I naturally feel, man, it can be so overwhelming. I'm like, Lord, I wish I had a nice fancy plane where the door just come down and they walk in nicely. But I am so grateful that I use what I have. Unfortunately, this is the relative of patient number 3 on Tuesday. Just before I departed, my phone rang. The patient died. It was a sad day for me, because I said, maybe he was sick Monday. He had the stroke Monday. And usually when there's a stroke patient, we go in immediately, but the weather was not cooperating. So it wasn't until Tuesday. So by the time I could fly again, he was gonna be patient number 3. He died. And as usual, ministry continues for us. When they're alive, we transport them, and even when they're dead, we also transport them. So, I remember I was helping to load the body. This guy was freshly dead, because I had to hold portion of him, because it took 4 guys. And again, I don't understand this. Usually there's a lot of help to get these patients inside the airplane, but when it's time to get it off, when I land, 1 or 2 guys. So as a missionary pilot, I'm not just flying airplanes. I gotta lift stuff. And every now and then my wife is like, why are you so beefy? Why are you so muscular? And I'm like, well, I need to have this muscle and strength, because this guy weighed 90 kilos, over 180 pounds. Only 2 of us, 3 of us got him out of the airplane. And I remember the 2 guys came and I showed them, I said, he's heavy. He's like 180 pounds. Do you have any other help? They said no. And then they asked me in their language, and it's surprising I understood. Um, can you help us? So I said, yeah, sure. And when I lifted that thing, I'm like, man, this thing is heavy. But it was a sad moment, because when the family came, I remember, I think that was the wife. She came to the airplane and she was just tugging on the corpse. She was just tugging on the body, just pulling on it, like she's saying, wake up, wake up. No, 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 you can't be dead. And she was saying all kind of stuff in her language, weeping. And that's one of the saddest thing whenever I bring a body in a bag or a coffin. When you land, you shut down the engine, you're greeted with this wailing and this weeping, and it touches your heart, it moves your heart. So I transported him, and then another day again, Pastor Melky called me up. More patients coming out of his area. People are sick in this area, so I had to pick up some more patients and transport them. This young lady was added to the trip last. Basically, she was unconscious at one point, very dizzy. They're not sure what's happening, so I picked her up, rushed her out. The family was very grateful that we could offer our assistance. I told you guys, I dropped Pastor Carlo back to his place. He went into the conference. He submitted his report. This is a Seventh-day Adventist pastor. He submitted his report. He got his supplies. I took portions, which was the Sabbath school lessons. I took that back, and he's going to be in quarantine and so on. So he messaged me this week. He said, Cap, I'm ready to go back to my missionary post. I said, sure, no problem. So I arranged for the ambulance to transport him to the air base. He came the night before. He came Wednesday night, and I scheduled a flight Thursday morning to take him. I weighed his things, and he had some boxes with the Adventist name on it, and I found out it weighed over 260 pounds. I said, Pastor, 6 o'clock is the departure time. You know, he's not the smallest guy, and he has portions of his motorcycle engine. He has stuff for his personal use, but most of his luggage, though, was actually for the church. So he spent the night with us, and then in the morning I fed him a sumptuous breakfast, and he enjoyed it. That's just a picture of us at the dinner table. And then we took to the skies. He said, Pastor, let's take a photo for remembrance. And you can see the luggage behind us. And, you know, he's always just amazed. Within 30 minutes, I had this man at his station, and this was his luggage. Happy Pastor, getting everything home. He's in quarantine right now, and I remember he texted me and he said, Brother, I am so grateful. I'm so happy that you have taken me safely back to my missionary post. So I told him, I said, while you were away, flying into Makonakon was not the same. There was no one there anymore to offer that word of prayer. So I'm just the one praying and picking up the patients, picking up the stranded passengers, and transporting him. And, you know, the absence of his presence was felt. It was really felt by me, so it was a blessing to transport him back to his missionary station. This is a lady, pregnant, wanted to get home. This was actually yesterday, wanted to get back home. And she's been through over a month of quarantine. They're coming from overseas. They've gone through multiple quarantines, and each area they stop to be quarantined, it's 2 weeks. So they've gone through a month, and they have one more. So they inquired about us if we have patients, and so I said, yes, Cap, I'd like to get back home. Okay, we have space, and I transported her and her companions. I could tell they're coming from overseas because they had some big mallet or huge luggage. I showed them the size airplane. I said, it's a very small airplane, and I cannot bring that. Even they had a little refrigerator, you know, like, so I said, I'm sorry, but I cannot bring those. So I told them 20 pounds each person max. So I had to sit for about 30 minutes, and I watched them take in what's most important to them, and they had to send the excess back with the ambulance back to their relatives to send with another flight. This young lady, not sure what's happening with her, but she was my patient that I picked up on that return leg. The old man, I think maybe that's a grandpa, and he's basically accompanying her. Inside the airplane is another patient that I'm going to tell you about later on. When I look at this young lady, you know, you can just sometimes there are patients when you pick them up, they try to maybe put on their best smile or something. Even with the mask, you can tell, okay, they're sick, but they're mustering up some strength. This young lady, I remember every time you look at her, you can see the pain in her face. So I'm like doing everything I can to just expedite and get going and so on. And they were just crouching there. Sometimes when they get in, they're not sure what's the procedure. And that's where I go beyond flying, and I bring their luggage for them. Inquire who is picking you up, where's your service coming from, or how many minutes away. Okay, put them in somewhere cool so they can wait. I take that initiative to assist them a little bit more, because I believe as a missionary pilot, I should do all that I can to help others and to finish the work of the gospel, right? So this patient, this is the nurse, and he's also the ambulance driver. He's not the youngest guy, so whenever I drop a patient off and he comes, we're becoming buddies now. Hey, and he always tell me, I appreciate what you're doing for these people. So this is a stroke patient, She was lying down in the airplane. This is the driver of the ambulance. He's also the nurse. That's the stretcher. Who is going to take this lady out of the airplane? And that's when I got to tell my wife, you know, I am beefy because it's my job. So I got it. I went in and she assisted herself as much as she could. Half her body is paralyzed. And I remember I got down and dirty and I picked this woman up, gently raised her out of the airplane and put her on the stretcher. And as I'm doing that, I have this nurse driver in the back of my head saying, you know, he's holding the dextrose. He's saying, Cap, we really appreciate the work that you're doing for these people. And it's a blessing, you know, every now and then I embrace these people. Again, when I'm not flying, there's work to be done. Believe it or not, I did an oil change on the 25th of this month, and it's already 50 hours. Every 50 hours, we change the oil filter. So after changing the oil filter, the director taught me, again, this is A&P on the job training. He taught me how to cut the oil filter and you begin to check if anything is being damaged. So you're looking for metal shavings on the filter itself. So if I see a lot of metal, you get a magnet and you kind of see if it attaches itself to the magnet, because it could be that something is going bad. And when I opened this up yesterday, the oil filter was fairly clean. I saw very, very small particles, not sure what those are, and they're not magnetic, so that's good. It's just a silver thing. You know, it's wear and tear. It's a very old plane, so what do you expect, right? But nonetheless, it's a real blessing that our airplane continues to be in full function. So oil change 25th, I'm already just into the 17th of the month, new month, and I'm already up at 52 hours. So it's a lot of people, it's a lot of flights. Why am I sharing this picture with you about the maintenance part? This is where I see God's provision. This week, just this week, I don't have a photo. I chose not to take a photo because, you know, it's private. But I have friends. But, you know, I make friends when I fly into different areas. There are other people flying. And one of my buddy that flies for a commercial airline, small airplane similar to ours, he's been grounded for maybe almost a week now. And that's solely due to mechanical challenges where his compression is off. His alternator had a challenge. And, you know, I'm not comparing myself to him per se, but when I see another plane grounded and we're able to keep operating, I am very grateful, because unlike them where they're being paid, so whenever anything breaks, you know, they're already being paid, so they have a couple dollars or money, whatever, to just repair. Ours, something breaks, we have to go on our knees and organize with God to provide, to fix, because there are times when something breaks, we have to prayerfully solicit financial help, and it takes a while for those donations to accumulate. The patients begin to pile up. The phone is ringing. Cop, someone is sick. Cop, there's a critical case. And we have to just prayerfully say, sorry, but our airplane is down. So to have a fully functioning airplane, I'm checking the filter. It's fine. It's a huge blessing to be able to operate in spite of the challenges that comes with flying. This is my tip that I got. It's a huge jackfruit. I got it from Pastor Belke yesterday, and I was so grateful for it because I love jackfruit. So these people tip around here, your tip is not $20, $30. Your tip is fruits, avocados, coconut, jackfruit, apples, like oranges, like they flood you with fruits. And that's a huge blessing. Again, when I'm not flying, I find work to do. We got a request from our neighbors. They're just down the road there. We got a request from our neighbors. This is an excavator. I got a little training on a backhoe back in the Palawan project under Captain Sean Knapp. And so Captain Dwayne Harris taught me a little how to operate this excavator. And he told me, he said, if you can operate an excavator, then maybe you can learn how to fly a helicopter. So every time I operate this excavator, my brain is saying, okay, this is a helicopter training, this is a helicopter training. So the neighbors, basically, when it's rainy season, their house gets flooded due to the heavy rain. So they asked us to dig a trench that will lead the water away from their house. So I went in and I started digging this trench and just reaching out to them. You know, they're our neighbors, so we got to do what we can to help them. So again, when I'm not flying, there's so much work that I can do. It might not be much, but you know, the little skills as I'm learning how to navigate this excavator. And I was thinking, you know, sometimes I go from welding, flying, operating an excavator, checking something on the airplane, preventative maintenance, doing this. So as a missionary pilot, my life never gets boring. There's always something to be learning, something new to learn, something new to just venture out. And these are things I would maybe have to go to school all over again. I'm not the youngest guy. I'm not old either, but you know, that's time and money. But to be able to have a location where the dynamics, and if I just continue to humble myself, you know, the Lord continues to teach me. And so in closing, again, we have some great news this week. It's a 7th episode, great news. This week, God has provided the money and we were able to purchase our Magneto. Praise the Lord, folks. We were able to purchase the Magneto. The donation came in, it accumulated enough, and yesterday, praise the Lord, finally, we were able to purchase the Magneto. We're not done yet. We still have the gem, which is the graphic engine monitor. We still lack 1725 for that. But if God can provide enough for the Magneto, I know that He will provide the rest for the graphic engine monitor as well. So you can go over to my website. If you like what we're doing, you're impressed with the nature of the work, we invite you to go over to By His Stripes Ministries 1844.com. And you can see the list of needs, their personal needs, aircraft needs. You can put a note in your donation where exactly you would like for your donation to go. We have created a GoFundMe page for the graphic engine monitor for the airplane. So we haven't gotten any donation through that, but the story is going on. So you can go over to GoFundMe.com, put in that title. I'll put it in the description bar. You can click on it. So as you watch this video on YouTube, you can click on that link. And you might not have the money to donate, but you might know someone that can make a donation. Share the link with the person. Just share the link on your social media. Send it to your family and friends through email. Call them up. Hey, there's an aviation program ministry over there in the Philippines doing an amazing work, and I love what they're doing. I don't have the finance, but I know you do. Give them a little something. And you know, here's the thing. They know you and they trust what you're saying. You're watching, you're following this, and so they know you and they will give based on knowing you. And you know that you've been watching and you know the nature of our work and you see the nature of our work. So we're very grateful here. And again, I cannot say it enough. What we're doing could not be done had it not been for your prayer and your support. Without you partnering with us, praying for us, encouraging us, there is no way we can do this nature of this work. So on behalf of Philippines Adventist Medical Aviation Services, we are so grateful. Episode 8 is going to be exciting, but it's also going to be sad. I have one patient right now that sent in a request yesterday. The hospital can do nothing for him. And he said, Cap, you know, he's communicating through the pastor to us. And his request is, I don't want to die in this hospital. Can you take me home so I can die with my family and friends? Another news coming in for episode 8. Come next week, Tuesday. that lady that did the brain tumor from episode 5, she's now finally ready to go back home. We have a flight schedule. We want to thank our sponsor that donated the donation for the fuel to take her home. And she messaged me. She said, Cap, I'll never forget you. Cap, I'm so grateful. Cap, I'm excited to see you again so you can take me home. Beloved friends, we couldn't do these things. And I messaged her. I said, Mom, it's not about me. This is God's way of saying to you and your family that I still love you and I care. She said, Cap, okay, thank you. I'll never forget you. But you know what? I don't want them to look at me. I want her to look at Christ and his love for her. So we thank you. We look forward to episode 8. And again, I can't overemphasize, beloved friends. This work takes more faith than finances. God bless. Thank you. And may we look forward to seeing you on episode 8.